Hey guys, Darren Bennett here with some more AndWorld insights. I'm going to switch it up a little bit today and do something a little different. Rather than focus on tips for the letterer, I thought I'd talk to our fellow writing collaborators about how to set up scripts for lettering. While there's no right or wrong way to set up a comic book script, there are definitely some things you can do to make it easier for letterers to work with. It's important to remember that although the script is essentially the way that you're sharing your story, it also becomes a tool for the letterer to use in order to guide him through his work. So I want to discuss 3 tips to help your letterer out when setting up your files. Tip number 1, avoid all caps. So many writers feel compelled to type out the dialogue in all caps, either to distinguish it from other texts or to make sure that the comic dialogue stays in the traditional capital letters. But because most professional comic book fonts are already in all caps, making the dialogue that way in the script isn't necessary at all. In fact, it does more harm than good, and I'm going to show you some of the reasons why. One of the main reasons, actually the biggest reason, is the crossbar I. In comic language, the crossbar I is only used for the personal pronoun, and non-serif versions are used in all other instances. So when you type out a word in all caps that has an I in it, those I's will start to show up with the crossbar in most cases. I know there are some fonts nowadays that have programming that counteracts this, but for the most part, our fonts start to show up with these I's all over the place. You can see here and here, and your letter will have to strip those out either manually or possibly going up to the menu inside of the script or inside of the program and changing it from uppercase to lowercase. And you can see you still have some fonts or some I's to kind of take care of. Whereas if we did this at the script level, if we typed out our script in sentence case, let me undo some of this here, then we can more easily control what the output is when we copy paste it in. Here I can see I only have to take care of this single I rather than all the I's we saw before. So it's a big deal when it comes to saving time and stuff like that. So we definitely want to keep that in mind. Another reason is that sometimes typefaces contain multiple versions of the same letter in caps that have different properties than their lowercase counterpart. You can see here that I have this sentence here in caps and it looks vastly different from what we have over here. When I go ahead and I change this to lowercase, you can see that it kind of widens out and changes the look. So you're introducing different elements that make it look kind of awkward on the page. If we were to, let's say we go into the script and we want to emphasize a specific word, let's say this aren't becomes capitalized, and we copy paste that inside of the document, it just kind of stands out from the rest of the page. And it can look a little weird, say to your editor. He might think you're using a different font. He or she might request a change based on something that really isn't a problem. You can see the ARs are a little different here. And so it really looks out of place. And so we definitely want to make sure we maintain consistency when we're typing at the script level so that we don't introduce new problems that can be avoided later on. We also run the risk of creating challenges for the letterer if we need to do something unique to tell the story using mixed case fonts. Let's say you want to do a cool bit of text with ancient text, but the font we chose doesn't play well in all caps. So you can see here, if I were to change this to sentence case, it works out much better. So it helps if you set this up in the script so your letterer doesn't end up copy pasting text that's in all caps throughout the comic and has to change every instance. Same applies to if we're doing something like newspaper text, where if these are in all caps at the script level, then we have to go ahead and change that, making sure we have it in sentence case and how it's supposed to look when we put it into our comic book page over the art. And I've got another one here for like social media where it's in all caps and it just doesn't look realistic. So if we set that up properly at the script, then we don't have to make these changes going forward. Tip number 2, don't use tabs. So let's just go back to our comic page and take a look at how tabs can affect lettering. I currently have the script set up here with margins to separate the dialogue from panel descriptions, so let me go ahead and tab these out instead. While it helps visually in the script, it causes some formatting problems that when it comes to text, it'll create a structure that's not really conducive to lettering. So let me just push these out a bit. And now you'll notice when I copy paste these over, um, just pay attention to the ones that are tabbed out over multiple lines. I'll paste these ones in first, and then when I copy this larger chunk of text, you can see how it appears with gaps. Let me just put this up here real quick. All right, you see this gap here? Yeah, that's causes problems whenever we're putting in, it's picked up the tab, and now we have to factor that in whenever we're reflowing text. So that gap is definitely something we want to avoid, and if we can avoid tabbing out at the script level, it makes it a lot more handy. Tip number 3, save in the right file format. So here I have a PDF doc, and I know what you're thinking. The PDF is a universal file format, so why not use it? But it does present its own set of problems. You can see here that sometimes text is difficult to select, and mainly we can't edit it at the script level. So when we run into things like these interrobangs, those are things that we can't change at the script level. So by eliminating the ability for your letterer to change at the script level, you make it so the things that we looked at, like tabs or caps, they're more challenging to fix. So it's one of those files that are great for sharing, but not so great for lettering from. Even exporting from the file brings along the same challenges, so it's best to save and send your letterer a file format he or she can easily use. Uh, Avoid native file formats used by script writing software like Celtics or Scrivener or Final Draft. Save as a doc or RTF instead. The best advice I can give you is to check with your letterer to see if there's something that they prefer. Bonus tip, how to make breath marks. So here I just want to give you guys an extra tip. It's how to make the breath marks or whiskers or whatever you might call them. Basically the things that go around, things like sighs or huffs. Let me just bump this up so you guys can see what I'm doing here. Inside the script, I know some of you writers tend to use carets around the text in order to make the whiskers show up. But since fonts use those for foreign languages, they just show up as carets instead. Instead, what you want to use are curly braces. So let's go ahead back into the script and just turn these carets into curly braces. And now when we copy that over, we have the curly braces in place, and we have the proper breath marks. So that's all I really wanted to get in for today. There are definitely a lot of other things to discuss. So like I said, check with your letterer to see if they have any preferences. But I want this to be a lettering resource for everyone, not just letterers, but other creators as well. I'm a firm believer in cross-training and understanding everybody's roles. So I just hope you guys learned something. Remember to subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks.